The Detroit Lions have announced their Week 8 roster moves, and it is a bit of a surprise on this list. Coming from the Detroit Lions Twitter account, says Lions have elevated outside linebacker Al-Quaiden Muhammad and tight end Shane Zylstra from the practice squad to the inactive list. Now, we did hear Dan Campbell talk about Muhammad, and we had a good idea that he would be elevated. I'm actually surprised that there is no Mitchell Agude. He has yet to be elevated to the 53-man roster. But I'm not surprised that we are not seeing Isaac Ukwu because, again, very similar to Tom Kennedy, I think these are the only people that have just one more elevation remaining. After you elevate them for the third time, they have to be waived or cut in order to revert back to the Detroit Lions. So if they brought up again, or you have to bring them to the 53-man roster. I'm not sure we have a space to do that right now, but the Detroit Lions are playing kind of musical roster right now. Very strategic moves based on who we're going to play and the likelihood, in my opinion, of getting pulled up or getting claimed in waivers if they do that. I think they learned their lesson last year. If you guys remember, we did the same thing with Trevor Nowalski. He went through his elevations. I believe that's how it worked. They were very risky, the Detroit Lions were, self-admittedly. They put him through the waiver wire. The Arizona Cardinals claimed him. He wound up finishing the season with them, and the Detroit Lions were very excited to pick him back up when he himself was waived at the end of the cut down from the 90-man roster. But what about Muhammad? Dan Campbell spoke very highly of him. I know when he was brought in, we went over his overview. Let's go over his strengths to see what he brings to the team. We'll also go over his weaknesses. Says angular build with a well-proportioned frame and good muscular definition. Has experience playing 4-3 defensive end and as a 3-4 rush linebacker. Well, there's how he'll be used. Has some explosion in his hips and should test well in vertical leap and broad jump. Has adequate power in his base and can set a solid edge as an outside linebacker. That's another thing Detroit Lions they look for. Crashes down the line of scrimmage with wide lateral steps to collide with heavy pads into runners trying to burst through running lanes. Possessive relatively forceful punch. Has a speed to power bull rush. Now, what about his weaknesses? Continuing, highly inexperienced thanks to suspensions related to his disciplinary issues at Miami. Character red flags will be a concern heading into combine interviews. Tight hips restrict his stride length. Not a fluid athlete. Segmented movements feel labored. Sluggish change of direction to flow with the ball. Slight delay in his acceleration. Lacks man coverage talents and is stiff dropping into space. Leggy at point of attack and can be washed away by size. Offers very little presence as an edge rusher. Missing workable counter move. Loop, under, and twist is slow and telegraph. Well, I hear what you're saying, but we'll see. Again, the Detroit Lions are extremely desperate at this point when it comes to defensive line, specifically edge rusher. Now, that's good. His strengths are most likely why the Detroit Lions brought him in here. And this is a guy that will have his first elevation and a chance to show what he's made of tomorrow, as he is, again, he's going to see some playing time, most likely. Now, the Detroit Lions, as we discussed earlier, they've got some decisions to make. They're going to have to decide if and when they bring up a guy like Tom Kennedy again, because that will be his last. And Isaac Ukwu, that will be his last. Do they go Mitchell Agude, who has yet to see any field action, or something like that? And now this is Shane's second one. So his next one is now his last one. Very intriguing game of musical players that the Detroit Lions are playing, but I'm looking forward to seeing not only him, but also the newcomer Isaiah Thomas, who will probably get some snaps as well tomorrow. We'll see what James Houston has to offer in what could be very well one of his last games as a Detroit Lion. I know you guys say he has no trade value, and I agree. Alone, he probably doesn't. 6th-round pick. What are you going to get for a 6th-round pick that's any better than that? Like, you're not going to give up a 4th-round pick for a 6th-round pick who hasn't done anything in 2 years. However, if you add him to an offer, as I called him yesterday, the throw-in bobblehead, the bobblehead you get from the stadium, then maybe it'll be more appealing. So as we go into the trade deadline and we get closer and closer and closer, we've been talking about the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and we'll be keeping an eye on the teams outside of the Titans tomorrow. We're going to get closer to that trade deadline and more players will come available. So the Lions want to see what they have, and they'll also need some depth pieces as well. So even if we brought in a Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or a Harold Landry, we're still going to need 2 or 3 pieces. We still will. Maybe one of these guys can be one of those 2 or 3 pieces. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. No Isaac Ukwu, but we also have the newcomers, and we'll see what they can do tomorrow. This channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel as well. We are less than 30 away from 24K, and we have the goal and the hope of getting to 25 by the trade deadline. So 4 o'clock Tuesday, November 5th, I hope to be at 25,000. And if you are not subscribed, I understand working for a subscription is a very difficult thing to do. So only subscribe if you see fit. If not, we'll see you next time. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. Make sure you take care of each other as well. And as always, go Lions.